Oliver Ekman-Larsson is the Leafs' leading scorer on the blue line. He's been one of the team's most consistent D-men this season, and now he's a big question mark. To speak to that and more, our insider Pierre LeBrun. Pierre, OEL left last night's game in the first period with a lower body injury, did not come back. Two questions. Any updates on the timeline for his return? And if it's not a short-term issue, since they were already looking, does this intensify their hunt for help on the blue line?
Okay, you want to know a lot, Gino. Let's dive in.
Yeah, man.
First of all, on Ekman-Larsson, he will miss some time. No official timeline yet. Obviously, they're running more tests on him. There should be more an official update on him when the Leafs are back at it Friday. As Chris Johnson tweeted, Brandon Carlo, who did finish the game, looks like he tweaked something, so there should be more on him as well on Friday. So it adds to a situation where we know Chris Tanev remains out. No firm timeline on when he may return, if at all, although knowing Chris Tanev, I know he does want and hope to return before the end of the season. Already, Leafs GM Brad Treliving, as we've talked about before on Insider Trading, has been sizing up the market on defense, looking at his options. We mentioned, for example, potential interest in Luke Schenn. I think that's still there, the Winnipeg Jets. I mentioned last week that Toronto's a team to keep an eye on with Dougie Hamilton. I don't know if the Leafs can make that work and where that's headed with Dougie Hamilton, but I think that Toronto is on the list of teams that Dougie Hamilton has approved, among many other teams, obviously, on his list. So let's see where it goes trade-wise, but I think it does put more pressure on the Leafs to figure that out because they're back in the playoff race now, but they're banged up on the blue line. I would say this, the bigger story for me is the Olympics. I mean, OEL could not have been more excited than he was when he got the call from Sweden that he was headed to Milan. What I was told on this day is that this injury should not knock him out of the Olympics. Now, again, they're going to run more tests, but I was told that it should not be long-term as far as him missing his Olympic opportunity. So that's the good news. But for Sweden, Gino, just to quickly recap, already they've lost Jonas Brodin, their top matchup defenseman, their top shutdown guy. That is brutal. They're waiting for Victor Hedman, who hopes to play a game or two before the Olympic break. Obviously, they need him, but that's not 100%. Erik Karlsson's on the mend, which is good. But the long story short, the Swedes also have injuries up front. No one's been hit harder by injuries and injury news than Sweden right now.
Speaking of the games, the Olympic trade freeze is now less than 2 weeks away. Teams are solidifying their game plans. And now the Oilers have a pretty good idea of what they're targeting, Pierre?
Yeah, so they held their pro meetings last week in Edmonton, Gino, and it's obviously at those meetings where every team in the league starts to size up their plan of attack for the trade deadline. In terms of Edmonton, what I'm told is they come out of those meetings with a very concrete plan in terms of going out and targeting a top 9 forward. Now, where it gets interesting is, do they end up trading for a center or a winger? And the reason that isn't 100% is because the internal debate is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins better at center for the Oilers or on the wing? Guess what? There is no bad answer. He's really good at both. And, when he's playing wing with Connor McDavid, he's been unreal. But when he's a third-line center behind McDavid and Draisaitl, who can beat that in the NHL? The bottom line is this. There are more wingers that are going to be available in the market than there are going to be centers. So that might be a self-fulfilling prophecy that perhaps the Oilers go out and trade for a winger. Because there are so many teams still in the race, so much parity and so few sellers, I don't think anything's imminent for Edmonton. I think they need the market to continue to play out, but that's where they hope to upgrade because they like their blue line. They've made their goalie trade. Top 9 forward is where GM Stan Bowman hopes to add before March 6th.
The Oilers' nemesis, the Panthers, back-to-back cups, 3 straight trips to the cup final. Florida's defied the odds for quite the run here, Pierre, but we're now almost into February, and the Panthers are still 5 points out of a playoff spot. Where do you think Bill Zito goes from here?
Yeah, 5 points out, Gino. And if you look at the standings, about 8 teams right now fighting for those last 2 wildcard spots in the East. So it's not just being 5 out. It's a real tough position to be in. And, a month ago, it looked like the Cup champs were back. As you remember, they were in a playoff spot, but it's not been as good since. They've regressed again, and they've just been hit so hard by key injuries. It's unreal. I mean, just to survive where they are without Sasha Barkov this year has been a story in itself. They finally got Matthew Tkachuk back, but now Seth Jones is out of the Olympics for Team USA. He's out at least another month, so that's been damaging to them. Here's the thing. I think in the perfect world, Bill Zito, the GM of the Panthers, would have probably gotten to the Olympic break come out of it and looked at what they needed. I don't know that he can afford that now. The season's really on the line. So my sense of things from talking to other people around the league is Bill Zito's been pretty active, phoning around and trying to understand what's out there to upgrade his team. And I don't really think it's a specific area that he's trying to address, Gino. I think it's generally, what can I do to upgrade my team before February 4th? And so keep an eye on Florida. They've made a lot of good trades the last few years, and they're trying to make another one.
They've got a great track record over the last couple of years. All right, that's the early edition of Insider Trading. The full version with Pierre, CJ, and Dregs is coming up on the early edition of SportsCenter.